Donald Trump has been commander-in-chief. As president between 2017 and 2020, he actually performed pretty well in foreign policy terms. Never mind the tweets, focus on the outcomes. Did anybody declare war on a US ally in that time? No. Did the United States have to take large-scale military action in that time? No. Did Putin behave himself? Yes. Did Xi behave himself? Yes. Why? Because Donald Trump, for all his flaws, and I'd be the first to acknowledge he has many, does understand deterrence. He understands that the most effective way to avoid getting into a war is to project the credibility that you would retaliate if your foes took action. And I love the story, which you doubtless know, John, of Xi Jinping's visit to Mar-a-Lago. During the meal, Trump goes out in mid-meal before the dessert is served, and then returns after a pause and explains to Xi that he just had ordered missile strikes in Syria and the dessert was duly served. I had a great conversation with Mike Pompeo recently, who, as you know, was Secretary of State for President Trump.
And a very good one, I thought.
Highly effective Secretary of State. And Pompeo made a very shrewd observation. He said, Henry Kissinger had to go and tell the Soviets that Richard Nixon was a madman and might escalate in Vietnam if they didn't help him end the war. But Pompeo said, I didn't have to tell anybody that Donald Trump was a madman. CNN did that for me. So Trump's credibility partly comes from his unpredictability.
Yes.
Anybody who's spent time in Beijing, and I spent a lot of time in the Trump years at Tsinghua University, knows how much they hated his unpredictability. And I can remember the story changing every year. Year one, he's a businessman. We understand businessmen. This is all going to be fine. But then when the tariffs came along, panic. He's a warmonger. He's a terrible person. The Chinese, and I think the Russians, don't really know what to anticipate from Donald Trump. And that is, I think, an argument in favor of his being re-elected. He has far more deterrence in his little finger than Kamala Harris has in her entire cabinet if she's re-elected.